The allure of a serene retreat led me to a charming Airbnb, a cozy townhouse nestled in the heart of Columbus. Mr. and Mrs. Parker, the hosts, welcomed me warmly, their demeanor amiable yet tinged with an unspoken reservation. Little did I know that their caution would intertwine with a chilling turn of events. The townhouse exuded an inviting ambiance, but as night cloaked the city, an unsettling hush settled over the neighborhood. The silence seemed almost palpable, punctuated by odd rustlings and distant whispers that skittered on the edge of audibility. As midnight approached, peculiar sounds resonated through the townhouse, an eerie rapping on the windows and an uncanny murmur that echoed through the walls. I tried to rationalize them as the idiosyncrasies of an old building, but a gnawing sense of unease lingered. In the stillness of the night, a sharp knock at the door shattered the uneasy quiet. I approached cautiously, peering through the peephole to find a lone figure, a disheveled man, eyes wide with terror, pleading for sanctuary from an unseen threat lurking in the streets. A tremor of empathy gripped me, but before I could react, a foreboding chill swept through the room. The man's frantic gaze shifted, fixating on something behind me. A sinister presence loomed. A shadowy figure, its features obscured in darkness, stood ominously in the hallway. Without warning, the figure lunged forward, breaching the sanctity of the townhouse. Panic surged as the intruder and the terrified man engaged in a frenzied struggle, their desperate cries echoing through the once tranquil home. Driven by fear, I dashed toward the rear exit, the harrowing chaos escalating behind me. The chilling sounds of the confrontation reverberated through the neighborhood, a symphony of terror that seemed to drown the night in malevolence. As I fled into the unknown streets of Columbus, the night seemed to conspire against me. A labyrinth of unfamiliar alleys and haunting echoes of the struggle left me disoriented and petrified. Hours later, I stumbled upon a police station, my breaths ragged and my heart pounding with terror. Frantically, I recounted the nightmarish events that had unfolded at the townhouse, a tale of an inexplicable intrusion and an overwhelming malevolent force that had shattered the tranquility of the night. Law enforcement mobilized, investigating the ominous scene at the townhouse. Yet, amidst the chaos, a lingering sense of dread clung to my mind, the haunting memory of the intrusion and the incomprehensible horror that had gripped the heart of Columbus. Law enforcement descended upon the townhouse, their flashing lights illuminating the once peaceful streets of Columbus. As officers combed through the scene, an eerie quiet settled over the neighborhood, a stark contrast to the tumultuous events that had unfolded just hours before. In the wake of the investigation, details emerged, but they provided no solace. The authorities found no traces of the mysterious intruder or the terrified man who sought refuge. The townhouse stood silent and empty, an enigmatic testament to the inexplicable events that transpired. Despite the investigation's efforts, a shroud of unease lingered, a chilling reminder that the tranquil facade of Columbus harbored secrets and mysteries beyond comprehension. Haunted by the memory of that harrowing night, I found myself questioning the reality of the events, uncertain if it was an aberration or a glimpse into the unsettling unknown that lurked beneath the surface of the city. In the days that followed, whispers spread through Columbus, a patchwork of rumors and speculations about the strange occurrences at the townhouse. Some dismissed it as an urban legend, while others spoke in hushed tones of inexplicable phenomena that defied logic. As life in Columbus resumed its rhythm, the memory of that night refused to fade. I sought refuge in the bustling city streets, but a lingering sense of foreboding accompanied every step, an intangible reminder that some mysteries defied explanation. Though the townhouse stood vacant, its doors closed to the outside world, an invisible veil hung over it, a veil that concealed the unsettling truth that perhaps Columbus held more secrets than met the eye. And so, as time passed, the memory of that haunting night became a cautionary tale, a whispered warning that the city bore secrets untold, mysteries that remained shrouded in the shadows of its streets. The bustling streets of New York City seemed an unlikely backdrop for the unsettling events that would soon unfold. Seeking refuge in an upscale apartment rented through an online platform, I anticipated a brief respite from the city's hustle and bustle. Little did I know that my stay would plunge me into a chilling ordeal. The apartment, nestled amidst the towering skyscrapers, exuded an air of sophistication. Yet, as night draped its veil over the city, an eerie sensation settled within the walls, a stifling quietude that clashed with the usual hum of the metropolis. Odd occurrences punctuated the night, a strange static interference on electronic devices and distant murmurs that danced on the edge of audibility. I dismissed them as the quirks of urban living, but an unsettling feeling gnawed at the edges of my consciousness. Amidst the silence, a sharp rap at the door startled me. Peering through the peephole, I found myself face to face with two stern-faced individuals in suits, their attire adorned with Homeland Security insignias. They identified themselves as federal agents conducting an investigation in the area. Reluctantly, I allowed them entry, their demeanor exuding an air of official scrutiny. Their questions, veiled in secrecy, hinted at a looming threat. A threat not from any external force, but one that emanated from within the very fabric of the government itself. As the night wore on, their probing inquiries grew more intense, questions that skirted the edges of legality, delving into territories of national security and clandestine operations. Their words carried an air of caution, hinting at a menace that lurked just beyond the city's glittering facade. In the midst of their investigation, an unsettling revelation surfaced. The apartment itself was under surveillance, its walls harboring a covert presence that defied comprehension. Puzzling devices hidden within the recesses of the rooms whispered of government intrusion, a surveillance operation camouflaged in the guise of an ordinary dwelling. The agent's scrutiny turned toward me, their inquiries probing into my knowledge of the apartment's past occupants and their activities. Their words dripped with suspicion, casting doubt on the very sanctuary I sought within those walls. Suddenly, a commotion erupted. The apartment's door burst open and a chaotic flurry of activity ensued. The agents, previously composed and cautious, were now embroiled in a frenzied struggle with an unseen force, an entity that seemed to materialize from the shadows. Panic seized me as the struggle intensified, an inexplicable terror gripping the room. In a desperate bid to escape the unfolding chaos, I bolted toward the nearest exit, navigating through the chaos that engulfed the apartment. With heart pounding and mind reeling, I raced through the dimly lit corridors of the city, the night concealing the horrors I had left behind. Fear propelled me through the labyrinth of New York streets, a maze of uncertainty and peril. As dawn broke over the city, I sought refuge in the anonymity of the bustling crowds, haunted by the memory of the surreal events that had transpired, a chilling reminder that even within the confines of New York City's towering skyline, dangers lurked in the shadows, veiled behind the guise of governmental authority. In the aftermath of the surreal ordeal, a sense of paranoia gripped me. The memory of the agent's struggle with an unseen force haunted my every thought. Fear gnawed at my mind, an unease that refused to dissipate amidst the bustling metropolis. Seeking solace in the anonymity of the city, I attempted to resume a semblance of normalcy. Yet the shadow of the clandestine government operation lingered, an enigmatic threat that loomed over New York's vibrant streets. Weeks passed, but the events of that night remained etched in my mind. An inexplicable force, the agent's struggle, and the foreboding realization that New York City harbored secrets that transcended the ordinary. Late one ominous night, a cryptic message arrived, a letter, delivered by an anonymous source, bearing a seal of confidentiality. Its contents, coded in obscure language, hinted at the imminent unraveling of a clandestine government operation. Driven by a desperate need for answers, I traced the letter's origin, following a trail of cryptic clues that led me to an unassuming building nestled within the heart of the city. Shadows danced in the dimly lit corridors, an ominous prelude to the secrets that lay concealed within. Venturing deeper into the building's recesses, I stumbled upon a clandestine operation, a network of agents embroiled in a sinister conspiracy. Surveillance equipment hummed with ominous intent, and files detailing covert operations lined the walls, revealing a web of deceit that extended far beyond my imagination. As I attempted to make sense of the ominous discoveries, an alarm blared, a shrill warning that my presence had been detected. Panic surged as I found myself pursued by shadowy figures, their intent unknown, yet undoubtedly malevolent. In a frantic bid to escape, I navigated the labyrinthine corridors, racing against time and a looming sense of dread. Echoes of footsteps pursued me, a haunting reminder that the conspiracy's reach extended far beyond the building's walls. In a heart-pounding pursuit through the bowels of the building, I stumbled upon a hidden chamber, a nerve center teeming with ominous machinery and clandestine operatives. But before I could comprehend the magnitude of the operation, a menacing figure emerged. A high-ranking official, his eyes ablaze with an unholy fervor. A confrontation ensued, an exchange of cryptic words and veiled threats that reverberated through the chamber. The official's commanding presence, coupled with the air of authority, sent shivers down my spine. Just as the situation reached a crescendo, a commotion erupted. Agents clad in government insignias stormed into the chamber, engaging in a fierce confrontation with the high-ranking official. Chaos reigned as the struggle intensified. The true nature of the government's clandestine operation laid bare in the tumultuous clash. In a moment of desperate opportunity, I seized the chance to flee, darting through the chaos that consumed the chamber. With adrenaline coursing through my veins, I raced through the labyrinthine corridors, the cacophony of the struggle echoing behind me. As I emerged onto the bustling streets of New York City, the night enveloped me, concealing the horrors of the clandestine operation. Breathing heavily, I disappeared into the anonymity of the city, haunted by the harrowing realization that the city's shadows concealed more than met the eye. The sprawling landscape of Texas seemed to promise an adventure that I eagerly sought. Opting for an Airbnb nestled amidst the secluded countryside, I envisioned a serene escape from the bustling city life. Little did I know that my retreat would spiral into a haunting ordeal. The Airbnb, a charming farmhouse, stood amid acres of untamed land, a rustic facade against the backdrop of the Texan wilderness. The host, Mrs. Hargrove, greeted me with a warm smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. Her demeanor was cordial, yet tinged with an unspoken unease, as if she harbored a silent secret about the house. Settling into the farmhouse, a sense of isolation permeated the air. The solitude was comforting at first, a tranquil respite from the chaos of urban living. Yet as night fell, an unsettling stillness enveloped the surroundings, and the charm of the countryside gave way to an eerie ambiance. I retired to my room, the antique furniture casting elongated shadows in the dim light. The wind outside howled like a chorus of distant whispers, and an inexplicable chill settled within the walls. As I lay in bed, the silence grew suffocating. Odd creaks echoed through the house, each one seeming louder than the last. Whispers, faint and indistinct, fluttered through the air, sending shivers down my spine. I dismissed the noises as the quirks of an old house, but sleep eluded me. Restless and apprehensive, I tossed and turned, the feeling of being watched lingering in the darkness. In the dead of night, a peculiar occurrence snapped me awake. An ominous tapping, rhythmic and persistent, resonated from the attic. Heart pounding, I ventured into the hallway, the floorboards groaning beneath my weight. The attic door, previously locked, now stood ajar, beckoning with an eerie invitation. With trepidation, I ascended the creaky stairs, the tapping growing louder with each step. As I reached the attic, an icy gust greeted me, carrying with it a pungent scent of decay. The tapping seemed to emanate from an old chest nestled in the corner, a chest covered in cryptic symbols and ornate engravings. My curiosity piqued, I cautiously approached the chest, its lid slightly ajar. With trembling hands, I pushed it open, revealing a collection of antiquated items, an old journal, faded photographs, and a peculiar wooden figurine adorned with crimson markings. The journal chronicled the farmhouse's dark history, a tale of an enigmatic cult that once inhabited the land, practicing arcane rituals and invoking eldritch entities. The photographs depicted shadowy figures and sinister gatherings that sent a chill down my spine. As I examined the wooden figurine, an unnatural sensation swept over me, an oppressive weight that seemed to emanate from the object itself. Crimson symbols glowed ominously, pulsating with an otherworldly energy. A cold draft enveloped the attic, and a presence, malevolent and palpable, manifested before me. a spectral figure draped in tattered robes, its eyes burning with an unholy fervor. Paralyzed by fear, I attempted to flee, but an invisible force held me in place. The entity spoke in a chorus of tormented voices, invoking ancient incantations that reverberated through the attic, freezing the blood in my veins. With the talisman clutched tightly in my hand, the only relic of protection, I uttered counter-incantations, a desperate attempt to banish the entity. A blinding light erupted from the talisman, engulfing the attic in a radiant glow. The entity screeched in agony, its spectral form convulsing within the radiant energy. Shadows twisted and contorted, clawing at the walls in a final act of defiance. When the light dissipated, the attic fell into an eerie silence. The oppressive presence had vanished, leaving behind a sense of emptiness and an unsettling quietude. Shaken yet resolute, I descended from the attic, the farmhouse returning to its serene facade. With the first light of dawn, I packed my belongings, eager to leave the haunting ordeal behind. As I drove away from the farmhouse, a sense of relief washed over me, but a lingering unease lingered in the depths of my mind. A chilling reminder that some secrets buried within the Texas countryside were best left undisturbed. The allure of an Oklahoma getaway drew me to a remote Airbnb, a quaint cottage nestled amidst the rolling plains. Mr. and Mrs. Jennings, the hosts, greeted me warmly, their faces etched with genuine kindness. Little did I know that their hospitality would soon collide with a chilling twist of fate. The cottage exuded a rustic charm, but as night fell, an eerie atmosphere descended. The isolation seemed more pronounced, the expansive fields stretching endlessly into the horizon. As I settled into bed, strange noises echoed from the surrounding countryside. Odd thuds and faint whispers carried on the wind. I dismissed them as the quirks of rural living, but an uneasy feeling nestled in the pit of my stomach. In the dead of night, a sound shattered the silence, a sharp knock on the front door. Heart racing, I crept downstairs, wary of the late-night visitor. Through the window, I glimpsed a figure, shrouded in darkness, pounding on the door with frantic urgency. Reluctantly, I opened the door, only to be met by a disheveled man, wild-eyed and trembling. He pleaded for refuge, claiming to have fled from an unseen terror lurking in the fields. Sympathy and apprehension warred within me. But before I could respond, a sense of foreboding gripped the air. The man's eyes widened in terror, his gaze fixed upon something behind me. A chilling realization struck. The man wasn't alone. Another figure lurked in the shadows, its presence malevolent and palpable. Before I could react, the intruder lunged forward, shattering the threshold of the cottage. Panic surged through me as the cottage plunged into chaos. A frenzied struggle between the intruder and the terrified man seeking refuge. I stumbled backward, reaching for anything to defend myself. In the melee, the intruder's features twisted into a ghastly visage, his eyes glinting with an unhinged fervor. His intentions were incomprehensible, driven by an otherworldly force that emanated from his very being. With adrenaline coursing through my veins, I bolted for the back door, desperate to escape the unfolding horror. The cacophony of the struggle echoed through the night, a chilling symphony of chaos that reverberated through the countryside. As I fled into the darkness, the chilling cries and unearthly noises followed me, a haunting reminder of the horrors I'd witnessed. Fear propelled me through the fields, the eerie landscape a maze of uncertainty and terror. Hours later, exhausted and disoriented, I stumbled upon a farmhouse, a beacon of hope amidst the desolated plains. Gasping for breath, I pounded on the door, praying for sanctuary from the night's nightmare. The farmhouse door swung open, revealing a kind-faced elderly couple, a stark contrast to the horrors I'd encountered. They listened intently to my frantic tale, their expressions etched with concern. Before long, sirens wailed in the distance, a glimmer of relief amidst the chaos. Law enforcement arrived, and with trembling words I recounted the harrowing events that had transpired at the cottage. As the authorities investigated, a profound sense of unease lingered. The memory of the chilling intrusion and the inexplicable terror that had gripped the cottage haunted my thoughts. A reminder that some terrors lurked within the quiet expanses of Oklahoma.
Thank you for joining us on this chilling journey through the unknown. If you enjoyed this spine-tingling tale, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. Your support fuels our passion to unearth more terrifying stories. Stay tuned for more bone-chilling content, and until next time, may your nights be filled with thrilling nightmares. Subscribe, like, and embrace the darkness with us.